Hi, I'm Jeremy with Poindexter G, and today we're going to talk about the Ruger 1022. The Ruger 1022 is probably the most popular .22 rifle out there on the market. If it isn't the most popular, it's probably darn near the top. It's considered to be one of the best rifles to be a first rifle. It feeds almost any type of ammo into it. It has tons and tons of accessories and customizations on it. It's probably rivaling the AR-15 in that regard. It's just an overall great rifle. Everybody should have one of these guys because they're amazing. There are a bunch of different options on these as far as the type of stocks on them and the barrel lengths. There's takedown models, composite stocks. This one's a 30-year-old model. It's got one of the older wooden stocks. But even though there are so many different versions of this gun, the basic operation of it hasn't changed much at all since they brought it out. I'm going to start off showing you the safety because that's one of the most important things you need to know. It's a little push button right here in front of the trigger guard. When it's pushed in, when viewing it from this side, it's safe. When it is pushed out, you see a little red band there, and that tells you it's live. The next thing I'll show you is how to load and unload the magazines. The standard magazine is going to be a 10-round rotary mag. As the rounds are pushed in, they go around that way into it. This magazine will fit flush into the rifle where you don't see it at all when it's in there. Goes right into here. You should be able to see Ruger written on it that way when you put it in. Removing it is going to be pushing the magazine release lever right there. This lever looks a little bit different from one model to another. Some of them have a slight bump. You can get aftermarket ones that go down a long ways to make it easier. But the basic principle is going to be just push it in, grab the magazine, and remove it. In addition to the standard 10-round magazines, you've got a number of different magazines, some from Ruger, some aftermarket ones that are on the market, including this 30-rounder. What? That just looks crazy on this thing. This one also has a nice little button on it here that makes it easier when you push it. You can take it in and out that way. Locking the bolt and unlocking the bolt is a little weird on these. If you notice, when you grab the charging handle and pull it back, it just slides right back forward. It does not lock into place. To actually lock it into place, you're going to have to use a little button here to the side of the magazine release. You're going to slide back the charging handle as you're holding it, push this button down. Then when you release it, the charging handle stays back here, the bolt stays locked open, and it's there. But you'll notice pushing this back doesn't release it, and pushing this button doesn't release it, and pushing the charging handle back and pushing that button doesn't release it. What do you got to do to release it? Well, you've got to do this crazy thing. Push the charging handle back, push this button, slide up to the magazine release, and then it goes forward. There's some aftermarket parts that you can put in there that will make this go a whole lot easier to where once it's locked back, you can just pull back on it like a normal rifle and have it pop forward. But stock from Ruger, this is what it looks like. There's a lot of different options for sights. I've got a scope on this one, but it still has the flip up rear sights on it and the front sight blade. There's two places on the gun where you have markings. Up here on the top of the barrel, you have, before using gun, read warnings and instruction manual available from Sturm Ruger and Company Inc., Southport, Connecticut, USA. I'm glad they put that warning on there because I didn't know guns are dangerous. You've also got on the side of the receiver Ruger in big friendly letters. Also Model 1022 carbine, 22 long rifle caliber, and your serial number. So to get started on disassembly, you're going to need two tools, a flathead screwdriver and something to use as a punch. Exactly what all needs to be done to remove your specific barreled receiver from the stock will depend on the model that you have. This one has a barrel band up front, and that's the first thing that needs to come off. Before you loosen the disassembly screw and take this out, you'll need to make sure that you put your safety into a position to where it's kind of stuck between fire and safe. If it's pushed all the way over to one side or the other, it doesn't have room to slide through the stock. A lot of people forget this and they damage their stocks, especially the older wooden stocks, so make sure you do that. The next thing we'll need to do is to loosen this disassembly screw right here. This screw is not captive and it needs to be removed all the way. Once you've removed this screw and you're sure that you have your safety in the proper position, the stock should just slide right off of the receiver. The next thing we'll need to do is to drive 3 pins out of the receiver. The pins will be this one, and that one. This larger pin here actually isn't necessary to get the trigger assembly out, but it is going to be in the way of getting the bolt out, so we'll go ahead and drive it at the same time. Once you have all 3 of these pins out, the trigger assembly lifts up and comes right out. What we'll do now is we'll pull the charging handle back. We then put our finger on the bolt face, slide the bolt up. It will basically, the edge of it will hit the receiver right there, and it will lock into place. Once that's locked into place, we're then going to push down on this part right there. When we do that, the charging handle will slide forward, and the whole charging handle and spring will come out. Right there, that comes out, and your bolt comes out. We don't need to take the bolt apart, so we're basically disassembled. As always, putting it back together can be a little bit of fun, and getting these 2 bits back in there takes a little bit of finessing, but it's not too hard. We're going to start by putting this back in. That'll just go in right there. You want to make sure that the spring rests up against that little bump right there. You'll notice on the bolt there's a bit right here that has a corresponding groove on the charging handle right there, so we got to get those 2 to go into each other. We'll need to pull the charging handle back. Mine tends to stick a lot, and a lot of people seem to have trouble with that, although some are able to get them to slide forward on their own. But you can basically just take something like this or a screwdriver, push that back all the way, and you want to get the charging handle all the way back to the end of the opening here. Once you have the charging handle pulled back all the way, you'll take the bolt with that bit right there lining up over the groove on the charging handle. We're then going to push down on the bolt and very, very slowly bring the charging handle forward. They should snap right into each other when you do that. It takes a little bit of practice to get it to work every time, but it eventually will. And once they're snapped into place, that slides forward and it works just like it's supposed to. At this point, it's just going to be reversing the process of putting everything else back together. You can actually put this pin in first. It's a little bit easier because it can help you guide it. You then are going to drive your other pins back in. Now it's basically ready to go back into the stock. You want to make sure again that you have this safety in that halfway position. But if you have it in there right, it should just slide right in like that. We'll then put our screw back in here. Once you have this screw in, if you have a barrel band, you can put that back on. And once that's tightened up, it's basically back together, other than me having to put my optic back on. So that's everything you need to know about the Ruger 1022. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like or comment. You can also subscribe to the channel so you can see all of the videos that I post, and we'll see you next time.